Good morning, Paul. Welcome to Puerto Rico.
Good morning. How are you?
It's a first for me. It's the first Paul, I think, on the show, and it's also the first franchisee.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know that we've done a franchisee before. So, Pestmaster of the Hudson Valley.
Yes.
You've been at this how many years?
24 years.
Okay.
Yes, 24 years. But I've been in the industry 37 years.
Where did you get your start in the industry?
I started in the industry in Miami
Okay.
for a company called Advantage Pest Control. I was going to college part-time, criminal justice major, and ended up needing a job. So, and
Were you going to be a cop?
that was the plan.
So the Mexican said yesterday, you look like a cop.
Yeah, but I keep telling them I'm not a cop. I'm a firefighter.
I get it.
'Cause
I
I'm
know.
a captain in my local volunteer fire department.
It's a mental thing, though. You wanted to be one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were going to school. You started working in pest control part-time.
Right. Started doing pest control part-time, and just it ended up being that the fallback position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you try something or move somewhere, and it's like, well, hell, I moved to North Carolina, and they're looking for pest control. I got the experience. Let me go do that. Was there for a year. Ended up moving to Texas, where I met my wife. Fallback position, pest control. And here we are 37 years later, and I'm still in my fallback position.
I can see that. You were in Texas, and then how did you get from Texas to New York?
So my wife and I were in Texas, and I was working for MetroGuard Pest Control, and I was their senior technician for the Dallas County market. And we ended up, we had a son. So we had my son Paul was 2 or 3 at the time. My wife would correct me on that. My dad calls up. He had retired, moved to Upstate New York, and said, "You want your own pest control company?" And I'm like, "Sure." In my brain, I'm thinking Dallas, nice weather, no, we don't have to deal with the snow and things like that. And we end up going to. He's like, "No, it's going to be in New York." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, I'm looking at different franchises for you. Looking at Orkin franchise, Terminix franchise, Truly franchise," and came across Pestmaster. He liked what he saw, and we discussed it. He fronted the money on it, and so we opened the doors in March of 2000 with 0 customers. Amy and I and our son Paul literally moved from Dallas 2 weeks prior. And by then I'd already gone through the testing, flown up to New York, got all my licenses, and we started Pestmaster at a home show with customer base of 0, not knowing anyway. So we didn't have the benefit of having friends and family that were going to be able to use our services. So
how did you grow this then in the early years?
customer service, because we weren't spending a lot of money on advertising. We would do the home shows, but under promise. So over deliver, over promise, over deliver, under promise. I don't remember what the damn saying is, but you know what I'm saying.
We know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So just straight up, handshake deals and literally doing what you're going to say you're going to do and going beyond. And 23 years down the road, we have 5-star ratings across the board, and that's how we built it. Just through every one of our reviews, they came out, they answered. It starts with answering the phone. That's where it starts. Answer to your damn phone. And I've talked to our other franchises that are in our system, and I was like, why do you not offer 24-hour service? Why would you not answer your own phone? Why do you let it go to voicemail? And that's what our competitors do.
Do you offer 24-hour service?
Mm-hmm.
So
emergency.
What constitutes an emergency?
Stinging insects inside a home, like wall nesting yellow jackets they chewed through, or bats, wild animals inside the house, because we do nuisance wildlife as well.
So not a honeybee that came in through a window crack at 2 in the morning. Like somebody cracks a wall and there's a hornet's nest behind it and they start flooding into the house.
So it's I just think something that's going to endanger life or property is kind of what I consider an emergency. And the price point. I'm not walking out the door at 2 o'clock in the morning to drive 20 miles to a fly that's inside somebody's house.
if we think back to 2023, I mean, how many emergency services did you perform in the middle of the night?
Probably about 10.
Okay.
Probably about 10. But most of them, because I've become experienced now. So Amy and I, one of our government contracts requires, and that's where it all started. That requires us to go out and do, be available 24 hours a day. I can tell you how many times we packed up a truck, and now one of our main government contracts is about an hour away from us, door to door. And so-and-so has a bat in their house. Okay, we're on our way. And so we jump in the truck, we grab the net, or at the time, the tennis racket, wake the baby up, put the baby in the car seat, and we drive an hour down there, grab the bat, drive back.
Yeah.
It takes us longer to get through security at this military installation than it would for us to actually find and capture the bat and remove it. But you're getting paid from the time you leave the house to the time you get back. You should not be turning away any work that's profitable. So if I lose 2 hours of sleep, the baby's going to sleep in the car. She's going to talk to me to keep me awake. But you go down and back and made a couple $100 as a new business. You don't have a choice. That's what you need to do. That's how you get ahead.
Were you and Amy working together from the very get-go?
We have worked together since 1998.
Okay.
Day in, day out. We had before, when we were in Florida, one of the off moments of not being in pest control, we owned an ice cream parlor, candy shop that we were selling hot dogs and candy right on the beach. And so we worked together. We'd get up, she'd walk to work, I'd drive to work, open the store up. She'd show up about an hour later because she liked to walk down the beach to work for exercise. And we worked day and night. We're together pretty much 24/7, and she hasn't killed me yet.
Okay. So you started in 2000 in New York. You guys worked together. It was just the two of you in the beginning. You're doing shows. You're getting customer by customer in the early years. And now, if I remember correctly, you run the largest franchise in the Pestmaster franchise network.
Yes.
And you've got how many technicians?
Well, up until today, we had about 38. Now we're down to 37. I had one guy did decide he didn't want to work today. So about 30, anywhere I call it it's floating. So we have approximately 42 total staff with 5 in the office. And then I'm out in the field just doing sales calls. I have an operations manager. I have a project manager for a couple of our projects. And then I also have a service manager as well. And then all the other technicians. We have a nuisance wildlife team. That's all they do is nuisance wildlife.
Are you working daily nowadays?
I'm in here. Yes, I work on the business every day.
Got
7 days a week.
Had your father not said to you, hey, I got a bright idea, you should do a pest control franchise, would you ever thought of becoming a franchisee? Or did you ever even think about going out on your own and starting a pest control business while you were working in Texas?
I would say yes, because I think my wife and I both have the entrepreneurial spirit. Just having our own business very early on in our lives with the candy shop, even though it was a complete bust, because a hurricane knocked us out and underinsured. But I would say yes, but I love the industry. I love the people in the industry. I love the industry itself.
Okay. What were some of your biggest learning experiences as you grew that business in New York?
That I screwed up?
I want to hear about your mistakes. I want to hear, because from what I understand, your fingerprints are all over how Pestmaster works today, from the capabilities that you've brought to the whole network. You're the largest franchisee.
We're the largest franchisee. We were the first to use the Cryonite for bed bugs. We're the first first company in New York State to use an entomological scent canine. At the time, it was
a drug addict canine at that.
Yeah. Thankfully, he's okay now. He's in rehab.
Okay.
But no, we did the termite dog, and then in 2005, bed bugs started popping. So we decided to send her back, Sophie, send her back for training and she got cross trinks. Termites, they sold the dog to us as, oh, the real estate agent's going to love you. No, the real estate agents hate the frickin' dog.
Why?
Because it kills the deal. If they find termites in a house and it's, you look at a wall and there's nothing there, no visible signs of termite or wood destroying insect activity, you turn around, bring the dog through, and the dog hits on it, and then all of a sudden you start really poking and prodding, and you find it. The buyers are like, wait a minute, we're not interested in this house. So that was, I don't want to say a mistake, because at the end of the day, the dog is just a tool. But the dog sits in two separate toolboxes, right? It sits in a marketing toolbox, and then it sits in the toolbox that, okay, the dog can actually find bed bugs or termites, per se. So the marketing value of that dog, you can't put a value on it.
How effective is that dog with termites?
The dog was about 85% roughly. But again, it's a tool. It's the same. It's as effective as a flashlight that either has new batteries in it or is dead, dying batteries. Do they have off days? They have good days. They have bad days. Just like you and I do.
I mean, how often does a dog get a false positive?
Not very often with a good handler.
Okay.
But the dogs will lie to you too. So that's why you see these. That's why you see stuff like with cops. I can make the dog hit. I can make that dog alert. I know how to do it. Every handler knows how to make their dog show an alert. So if the cops want to search that car, they're going to search that car. But they can bring the canine around. The canine, they can make the canine alert. That's not even an issue. So if there are unscrupulous pest control people out there, oh, you got bed bugs. I see it every day. You got bed bugs, or you have termites, and it's not. That's just people's greed getting in the way of their morals.
So you have the same dog doing bed bug and termite?
At that time, we stopped doing the termite because we weren't getting any calls on it. So we rebranded. We'd go to home shows and we'd have a Lazy Susan with 5 arms off of it with a bowl on the end of it. And we could put the bed bugs or the termites in one of those bowls, and we'll walk the dog behind a curtain, spin that wheel, stop the wheel, and then walk back, and the dog will hit every time. Every time. So it was good. It was a great marketing tool. It was voted best friend to the homeowner, by our local magazine and things like that. We go out every day with the dog. The dog actually rides with our operations manager. He's with the dog almost 24/7.
What's bed bug activity like in upstate New York now?
It's increasing again. Post-COVID, it's definitely increasing again. We're starting to see the numbers tick up again. Last year, it was flat. Mm-hmm. But we've had years where the dog does $200,000 in inspections, $200,000 or $300,000 in just inspections, plus what we find, and then that triggers it. So a good year, we're doing $800,000 a year in combination of treatments and bed bug work.
And what kind of treatments are you typically doing for bed bugs?
We do everything. So we'll do chemical, we'll do eco, we call it eco. We trademarked the name Eco-Freeze for the Cryonite, but we also do heat treatments as well. And I'd say 98% of the time we're doing chemical treatments.
Does the customer choose what sort of treatment they want?
They don't have a choice.
And so what makes you decide one over the other?
The level of infestation, the ability of the house itself to take a heat treatment. If you have a house that has all vinyl windows, tons of TVs and candles and medicine, and they just can't prep properly, we'll just do a chemical treatment because there's a lot less prep involved in the chemical treatment most of the time. But now, through Bedbug Central, or what was Bedbug Central, we do pretty much no preparation bedbug treatments.
What is Bedbug Central?
Bedbug Central was done by Phil Cooper and the Cooper Pest Solutions, where they, during the height of the bedbug epidemic, for lack of a better word, they set up standard SOPs. They did SOPs, and then they would train those SOPs for a fee, which is a great model, to other pest control companies that would come into Jersey. They just didn't train anybody in New Jersey.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then you get that certification, and a set of standards, a set of standard SOPs.
As you grew that business over time, how did your advertising and marketing change?
We've never been big. We do a lot. We used to do a lot of press releases. So, bed bug dog. You know, if we went to training, we just constantly doing press releases. Being a volunteer firefighter, we would I won't say advertise that portion of it, but you know, our phone book advertising that tells you how long ago it was, owned and operated by a New York firefighter. Well, who's more trustworthy than a firefighter, right? So that's how people would come in too. And we would do fundraising events for hurricanes. And so we'd literally sit outside in front of our office with our Pestmaster trucks and sit in the middle of the road with a vest on, collecting money for Hurricane Katrina and things like that, and get the kids involved. And we do a haunted house at our office every year. So there's this community involvement. It wasn't throwing tons and tons of money at advertising, but our main goal at that point was phone book. Weren't there. The internet was, it was still a thing, but it wasn't like, oh, you could do Google searches and you can find all these pest control companies and stuff like that. It wasn't like that back then.
You know, although you look like a cop, you actually are a fireman. How'd that happen?
Always been interested in just helping my community. So when we were in Florida, I was a volunteer firefighter there. When we were in Texas, I was working as an EMT at nighttime when I wasn't doing the pest control thing during the daytime to support the family. And then we moved to New York. I had the opportunity to join the local volunteer fire department and worked my way up from firefighter all the way up to captain.
So how does a volunteer fire department actually work?
So if you have an emergency, you call 911 just like you would anywhere else. And then instead of a radio dispatch to the station, we have pagers that we carry. Literally, it's a pager that we wear on our belt, and or our phones will go off, and it just starts beeping and then starts telling you where you get your tones, and it tells you what the incident is and where to go. So we respond to the firehouse, and then we get on an engine, and then we go to the structure, fire, car accident, medical, whatever it is.
So in your area, there's no actually properly, I don't know what.
In our county, we have 63 separate fire departments in our county. Only one is paid. Everybody else is completely volunteers, which we struggle. So at nighttime, a structure fire, we may get 3 guys to show up for a structure fire. Well, we need 12. So we have to call mutual aid in from other fire departments and things like that. And then they all show up, and it's easier to call them and have them send them home if you don't need them than to have to wait for them when you have a house burning or, entrapment involved and things like that. Because if we have entrapment, if somebody's in a building and it's on fire, we have a 2 in, 2 out rule. So we have to have 2 people inside. We can send 2 people in, but we have to have 2 people on the outside. So we can't just show up, and if there's 1 or 2 of us, we can't just show up and just go running in and be Mr. Hero and save the day if we don't have the proper backup.
Wow. So how many calls do you get per year to do
We
that?
run average anywhere from 175 to 210. So, and my daughter's a volunteer firefighter too at age 17.
So if you get on, let's say you're captain, you got 200 calls in 2023. How many of those did you physically show up on?
I think I'm around probably about 2/3 of them I make.
Okay. Do these happen conveniently in the middle of the night often?
We had one last night.
Really?
Had one last night. So the phone goes crazy, starts beeping, just like it's kind of beeps like you get an Amber Alert, except we have different sound, but different tones. But it goes off, it tells you the dispatch and everything like that. And we go to the fire station, get on the truck, and go. This was a medical on the New York State Thruway last night that we had to respond to. Somebody had an allergic reaction to something or other. I don't know. I didn't make that call.
Yeah. How do you guys recruit volunteer firemen?
That's the struggle. That is the absolute struggle right now. So, we get a tax credit of $200 in New York. That's not incentive.
So you actually really want to...
The lights and the sirens, that's my incentive. Because you get that adrenaline rush and just being able to help people. It's fun. It's fun. But we struggle. Every single fire department in this country right now is struggling for volunteers. Everybody does. Because people they don't work in their communities anymore. They commute, so they're not near their community. I'm fortunate. My house is 38 seconds by car from my fire station. So I'm typically the first, my daughter and I are the first ones at the firehouse for the calls. So we get on the engine, Sometimes I'm driving, sometimes she's in the passenger seat, and that's it. That's all we got.
So you guys get an alarm, and you literally can run out your door and be there in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you guys wait for the other volunteers to show up at the station, or are they told to meet?
Yeah, so we have an app, so it's called I Am Responding. So when we get the call, it goes through that app, and then we click that we're responding, and then I'm looking as the officer. I'm looking at, because we have it's a chief, an assistant chief, then me. So I'm third in command of the department. So I look at it and I say, so I know who's coming and where they're going. They can go if they're delayed, they can go straight to the scene and assist straight at the scene. But if it's not, I can see, okay, I have so and so coming. He'll be here in 2 minutes. We'll wait for him. We'll wait for him out in the driveway, because we always want to go with as many people as we possibly can.
What's the typical career tenure of a volunteer?
Life.
What's that?
Life.
Yeah, but I would imagine. I'm just thinking like
I got active members that are driving engines that are over the age of 75 right now. They're driving a multi-ton vehicle with 2,500 gallons of water on it, plus all the equipment, that are, in their 70s, driving the scenes.
I can imagine there's a lot of folks that are aspirational and think, man, I would love to help. Super exciting. Start and then get tired of the 3 a.m. buzzer.
Yeah, it gets. Yeah. There's ones we have what we call frequent flyers. That one, he went off 2 nights ago, and while I'm here, they don't realize that they roll over. They fall asleep with their pendant on. I've fallen and can't get up button, and they hit it, and then you walk in their living room door, and you're like, hello, wake up. And they're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
You just want to choke them. But it also gets to be. We talked about it. It gets to be the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
At some point, nobody's going to show up. And, we have residents that we look at that like that. It's like, we're going there again. We know it's nothing, but that one time, it could be something. Just like fire alarms. When fire alarms go off, they automatic alarm. Not a fire. Somebody's cooking. The steam goes off, where we've gotten there and, we're knocking on the door and nobody's answered the door. And you open the door. We do forcible entry, and we have an active fire inside the house, but it went off because of the fire detector.
I had no idea of how prolific volunteer fire departments were in the U.S.
70+% are volunteer fire departments.
No idea.
So the law is, if you live in a city, they have to have a paid fire department, is my understanding. If it's not if you don't live in a city, if you live in a town, a village, they can all be volunteers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service.
I've worked for small companies. I've never worked for a big company. I've always worked for mom and pops. So that's the only mentality that I know. I could have started my own company, probably, maybe, but I don't know what age we were when we started Pestmaster. So I'm 57, so 20, late 20s. Don't know about marketing. I know how to kill bugs. Don't know about the office side, the bookkeeping, the QuickBooks. I don't understand or know any of that at that time. High school graduate, 1 year of college. That's about it. And here we are now. But we went the franchise route. Going the franchise route. Probably had some good stuff at the time, but here we are now, 24 years down the franchise road, and it's like, yeah, what am I getting from my money?
So you're saying in the beginning, it was instrumental?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I wouldn't have the contracts. I wouldn't have the contract experience that I have now on how to get contracts, the government contract stuff. And government contracts, if you set 50 people in this chair, 45 of them are not going to understand government contracts from a business owner standpoint for pest control. There's not. They don't. There's very limited people in our industry, the pest control industry, that are very savvy when it comes to the government contracts.
Well, that was Pestmaster's competitive advantage, is that Jeff was very focused on the whole GSA thing and the government contracting, whereas the Orkin and Terminix franchises of the world really just hang their hat on the brand name, Orkin.
Right.
Whereas Pestmaster is clearly not as well known as Orkin or
No,
Terminix,
not
and it
at
was
all.
really the government. How much of your business is government contract now?
25%.
Okay. In the earlier years, was it more?
Amy and I've always built our business model on a four-legged stool, right? So you got four legs. You got residential, commercial, industrial, and government, right? So what happens when the housing market crashed, right? There were a lot of people. There was franchises that they were 90% termite pre-treats.
Yeah.
Where are they at now? Don't know. Flipping burgers, I guess. I don't know. But if you have a four-legged stool and you lose one of those legs, you can still balance. You can still stay afloat. If you have a three-legged stool, you could probably do it, but you're going to be really wonky on it. If you're only doing residential or commercial, you lose one of those revenue streams, you're done.
How do you define industrial?
Anything that's not commercial, anything that's not, it could be like vegetation work. Like I'll classify. So we're a full service pest control company. So a lot of companies out there say, oh, we're full service. Okay, define full service from a general standpoint. Full service for 90% of the market people out that are the pest control companies out there. Well, we do commercial, we do residential, we do termite, we do bed bug. Okay, you're full service. You ask me what I do for full service as a full service pest control company. I do residential, full service, termite, bed bug. We have Canine for bed bugs. We do full commercial stuff. We do nuisance wildlife. We do aquatic vegetation. We do regular right-of-way vegetation removal, or not removal, but vegetation management. So when you have scarcity in a certain service that you're providing, scarcity drives that price. So I can go out there and charge $500 an acre for aquatic vegetation, whereas if I'm doing regular vegetation, it might be $400 an acre. But they send out the proposal, they're only talking to 2 or 3 companies. They're not talking to the guys like pizza. You know, talk about a pizzeria. Since I'm from New York, I live in New York. How many pest control guys go into a pizzeria and get a slice and drop a card off? How much are you paying for your, hey, you know, I eat here all the time. How much are you paying for your pest control? Well, I'm paying $35. Oh, really? Okay. I'll do it for $34.50. Oh, okay. Here. Then the next guy comes in. I'll do it for $31. So I don't want to get into the race to the bottom. I want to be the only person playing in my sandbox. I want all the toys for myself. So
When did you start adding on those ancillary services like vegetation management? Were you doing that right out of the gate?
probably 5 years in.
And what
So-
made you decide to do that?
Seeing the stuff that our franchisor was doing at the time, going after these, you know, contracts, getting, you know, $600 or $700 an acre to literally just to drive down and spray a guardrail. You know, so 2 feet wide, each side of the guardrail, 4 feet wide, and you do the math on it. You go like 1.33 miles. You just made $800 for spraying this.
And that's a service you provide to the government? All right. So you saw what the franchisor was doing, and then you just started looking for those sorts of opportunities.
At the time, we followed the playbook. Now the playbook doesn't really exist anymore because the franchisor is just kind of, we were bought out. The franchise was bought out by a private equity group. So it was kind of, the focus has shifted from, you know, we used to be the customer because we're paying for the right to use the name and stuff like that. We don't feel that way anymore. So,
And you think they're ultimately going to move away from what Jeff did with the government contracts, GSA stuff? Is that
yeah, they already have.
Oh, really?
They already have. Yeah. So during the threshold or during the transition, so the one of the government contracts that's a 20-year contract, they let it lapse, and they didn't go back after it again. And that was one of the that was one of the attractive points of becoming this franchise was, hey, we have access to this contract as a subcontractor to the franchisor, and this opens up all kinds of opportunities. Well, the new owners, the PEG, decided that it wasn't going to be a priority for them. So that it not being a priority for them made it a priority for Amy and I to, we're going to get that contract. We're going to have it ourselves. So when you look at this particular contract, there's a handful of companies on it, comparatively speaking to the number of companies in the country doing pest control.
What are some other ways that the franchisor has changed since being acquired by a private equity firm?
Morale from the franchises has dropped drastically. You know, the unhappiness is just like through the roof. Like, yeah, I talked to other franchises and they're like, what are you doing to get out? How are you going to get out? And it's like, don't know. We're talking. And I said, well, we're always thinking about trying to figure out a way to get out of it. And because at this point, there's really we don't see the exit, a successful exit plan for us. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. I mean, we have run a very successful business and we could retire and just own the business and just let other people run it and just collect our paycheck and we'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
But at this point, we're just not, the value's not there anymore. Perfect example is we would be mandated to attend 2 out of the 3 meetings a year. And the meetings would be one on the West Coast area, one in the central area. You know, we'd go to Vegas and we'd go to New Orleans and we'd get to hang out. Right. So yes, we'd have a day-long training sessions. Okay, this is this bug, or this is the new treatment method, or this is the new equipment. And now it's just changed. So I don't get to see my friends.
They don't do the franchisee meetings anymore?
They have regional training sessions, which you get a dinner the night before and then 8 hours of training, and that's it. And it's like, so, and I don't want to say below me because it's not, because I'm 37 years in this industry and I'm still learning every day, but it's pest control 101, which I understand they have to offer it for their new franchises. But they're doing training with blinders on. So it's like, instead of doing a grand scheme of things, okay, this is a new piece of equipment, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do something that's specific for this bug that's in just this region.
I see.
So it's a little frustrating. So the last one I went to was like last year, and they do a lot. They're very corporate. So everything's a Zoom meeting. They have multiple Zoom meetings every month. And it's just like, you don't get anything out of the Zoom meetings. It's just, you don't get that camaraderie. I learned more outside of the industry, outside of the meetings, than I learned sitting in a classroom.
Yeah, having a beer with your peers, talking about what it is you do, what they do. Yeah.
Right, and that's why Amy and I now we go to national every year, but it's kind of like, I don't really go to the meetings for the classroom for the CEUs because I bring in all the industry experts into my office. I have Paul Bello, I have Doc Mitchell coming in. I've had Dr. Frischman come in years ago before he semi-retired. So I would have them come in and do our trainings. So I don't need that. What I need is I want to sit at the bar or have dinner with somebody and say, what are you doing for this problem? How are you solving this business-related problem? Not so much pest control, but how are you doing this? And that's where the camaraderie and stuff, but they've killed it, and it's frustrating.
I would think that they would have just as much business training as they would technical training at these things.
All technical. Our next training's in New Orleans, who my wife's not allowed to go to, but I'm going to go, but I haven't even registered yet, but they do away with the accolades. They did away with all the accolades. So every year we get awards for, top sales, top this, top new franchise. They don't do that anymore. The franchises, especially the new ones, they need that accolades to know, hey, I'm doing a good job. I should keep doing what I'm doing, or I need to change, or it drives them to the next level.
Paul, let me ask you this. Like, obviously you're advanced in your business journey. I mean, do you think it's easier to start a pest control business today, or was it easier 24 years ago when you did this?
I would say it's probably easier back then than it would be today.
Why is that?
Regulations, the public perception of pest control. So how hard was it 20 years ago for somebody to go get a B&G and pick up and go spray the baseboards, right? Because that's what you're sitting here and you watch the bug guy come in and that's what he does. Well, how hard can that be? I could do that for $50, you know? Now it's a lot more science-based. So you have to understand IPM. I will write up my employees if I catch them saying the word spray, because we don't spray, we treat. We don't use chemicals, we use products. So it's education of the technician, and it's marketing has changed. Everything in our industry has changed. It stayed the same, but it's changed.
How do you feel like the competitive landscape has changed since 2000?
Oh, I think it absolutely has. But again, that goes back to the marketing side. That goes to the terminix, the orkin. And I don't refer to them as pest control companies. Those are marketing companies that do pest control. That's how I refer to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the local, I won't even say, I can't even say, bring in my word to say the competition. The other companies in my market, they're not competition for me, because they're 15 years back behind me, 20 years behind me, is how they're doing stuff, which is great for me.
Do you consider yourself a marketing company that does pest control?
No. We're not even, we're a customer service company. That's what we are. We're customer service.
When you deal with your team over there, you just mentioned lexicon, like words that you use. You use product instead of chemicals, for example.
Right.
What are some other things that you do with regard to customer service that you think have differentiated you in that market?
Handwritten thank you notes to new customers.
Really?
Yes.
Sent in the mail, hand delivered?
Sent in the mail. Don't park in their driveway if you have a truck that's leaking oil. Bring in their trash cans. Bring in their newspaper. You know, shut the gate. If you're in the back, shut the gate. You know, leave it as good as or better than the way you found it. The house. You know, don't take a shit in their house. Make sure if you have to use a restroom.
Yeah.
You know, this is all learning. These are all ankle breakers, right? I've heard of stories, and thank God it wasn't my company. Guy goes in, customer, it's a key account, goes in, decides it's okay to use the restroom, takes a shit. Well, guess what? It's freaking January, and they turned their water off. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, right?
I guess you can find
the
valve.
Yeah. But you know, it's just that's
You know,
those are ankle breakers.
This is probably the first time in many years that I actually thought about the concept of if a technician's in a home and has to go to the bathroom, what do they do? I mean, do you strongly advise your technicians to find an alternative?
Yeah, gas stations, restaurants. When I was working in Dallas, and Amy can attest to this, we had paper map books, right? Mapco books. I had red or whatever color stars in my map book of the cleanest restrooms in the area. We could be going shopping. We could be going out to a restaurant across town, and our son or my wife, somebody may have to use the restroom. I'm like, well, hang on a second. I know where to go. And, you know, just because we're on the route, I knew where to go. Didn't have to have the map book. But it's like, and sure enough, you pull in, they have 5-star restrooms, you know?
But I would imagine that probably not many homeowners want somebody who's working in their house to use their especially when somebody is there for 45 minutes, right?
Yeah. You plan better.
Exactly.
Plan better. You know, but there's guys out there right now in my market that are giving us a bad name. You know, they show up to do a yellow jacket or a ball-faced hornet's nest, and they stand on the customer's outdoor table to take the nest down. It's like, do better. This is our industry. There's a story, and I won't say who the company is, but they will send a salesperson over to this widow's house, and they go up, they sold her $15,000 worth of insulation, rodents throughout the house, telling her she's got rodents throughout the house and everything like that. She calls me, I go over, she's like, well, none of the traps are being triggered. I never see anything. I don't know why that they're telling me this. And I'm walking around the house, and there's a big room down in our basement, just all Lionel train boxes and fishing gear. And I go back upstairs. I'm talking to her a little bit, getting to know her, and she's like, "Yeah, my husband just died like 2 months ago, and I had this company come in. Said I had to have all new installation. They charged me $15,000 for the installation, and she goes, I have to be careful when I get up in the middle of the night because she's literally a mousetrap down her hallway every 6 feet on both sides." And I'm just like, so I ended up, I was like, I was mad. I was shaking. I was so mad when our industry, when we bring salespeople into our industry and they sell for the sake of selling, not for the sake of solving a problem, or selling. They're selling on fear. Well, they didn't have many mice. If she did, she had such a minor mouse problem that was negligible, but they got the nice hefty commission check on a $15,000 installation job. Quickest way to the exit door in my company, there's 3 ways. Hang up on a manager and owner out of anger, lie to a customer, or sell them something they don't need. I will fire your ass quicker than you can even imagine.
Have you ever had to pull the trigger on firing somebody for selling something that the customer doesn't need?
Nope. We refunded money because we went back and figured out it was a mistake. It wasn't an intentional, I'm going to take her for this money, but a technician misidentified something. They said, no, it's not that, it's this. We're going to refund the money to the customer.
If you look back over your long career, what you and Amy have done with your team, if you could change anything, what would you have changed?
It's hard to answer that because the one quick answer is don't be a franchise. That's my quick answer. Because I'm paying royalties for that I shouldn't have to be paying now because of experience. But I mean, I think we've done it. We've done pretty much. We've all made mistakes. I've underbid stuff, and she calls me out on it. She says, "You underbid this. We're losing money every time we go out there." I'm like, "Yeah, but I bid it. I own it, and yeah, we're going to lose money for the term of the contract on it, and then we correct it because it's not the customer's fault that they got a great deal, But I can't think of anything major other than just. Now that if I know now what I knew then, yeah, piece of cake.
Yeah, I guess with the whole franchise thing, though, at the end of the day, those are, you're handing over a lot of money right now because you're not getting a lot of value. But back in those days, who knows? Maybe you wouldn't be where you were today.
I don't think I would be. I don't think I would be, thanks to Jeff Van Diepen and his guidance at the time.
Yep.
But he's out of the picture now, and as I said earlier, the student becomes the teacher. You've learned well, grasshopper.
Yeah,
is what Jeff always tells me. So,
Well, Paul, we've really enjoyed having you and Amy down here in Puerto Rico.
Oh, this has been great.
I'm glad you were able to come down. I look forward to chat with you again here in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome, brother.